Hello there, welcome to In My Opinion for Evil Tonight. You play as Sylvia, who's a medium that takes on cases as to deal with cleaning up some negative energy from places. This case brings her to a dilapidated dance school, and after warping to what's basically the mental realm, she discovers that there are other people who were in said school at the same time and was sucked into this realm. She also does run into the vessel spirit that caused all this chaos, and now she must make sure that people don't die and puts the spirit to rest. The tone kind of feels like I'm watching a comedic ghost anime. Our lead is pretty capable and does have some funny back and forth with the group, but just cause it can be comedic doesn't mean it can't be serious and moving at certain moments as you find out more about the game's plot. Of course, there are some documents as well that help expand the backstory of said school. By the time I hit the end, I felt pretty satisfied and would actually like to see more of Sylvia's adventures. What we got here is a survival horror game that has a big focus on action. And while running away from some fights is doable, the game does expect you to whip out your weapons for some occasions. These are weapons like your pistol or shotgun, and while the game gives you a decent amount of ammo, I don't think you're ever flooded, so you do have to keep an eye out. But luckily, this game has an awesome knife to help you take out lesser enemies and save ammo. Like, I was seriously surprised how useful this knife was in combat. The combat itself does indeed feel really good, especially the weapon feedback, and while some enemies are more easily dispatched, there are those that make you say fuck when they pop up. While you can clear out an area, reaching certain points in the game's story will fill that spot up again with tougher and new enemies. Though while there is some challenge, the game never feels cheap when it comes to encounters, and there's a good amount of safe spots that you can always go to if you feel unsure. There's also a few boss fights in the game, and while it's the same person, they do transform and offer a different approach each time. Another aspect in combat is your stamina meter, which is tied to your knife as each swing will drain you. And as I mentioned, the knife is a great tool in this game, so you'll be using it. You just have to be aware of your stamina and stop swinging to let it fill up again, since if you don't, you'll get tired and won't be able to move or defend yourself, meaning you're most likely going to get hit. There's also a dodge you can pull off to get around while in combat, but this also uses up some stamina. There is a good amount of exploration, as you will be backtracking to get certain items like keys to unlock new areas around the school. The game has no map, but the way this school was designed, you don't really need one, since you never feel lost as each area feels easily identifiable, enough so you have an idea where you need to go if you remember a certain area. Now I did mention puzzles, and while this game does focus on combat, it still holds its own in some clever but fair puzzles. The clue to solve one is usually close, like in the room itself, or at least it's obvious you need to find a specific item to solve it. There was only one puzzle that I hated in this game, and it seems it's random each playthrough. This was the only one that fucked up my flow, and I would honestly throw it out. After you beat the game, you unlock Commander Mode, which ups the action up to 11. It lets you start with every single gun in the game, and enemies now drop items like health and ammo, which may make it sound easy, but they throw every enemy in the game at you from the start, and they throw more than usual as well. If you want the game to play more like, well, Commando, this is the mode to mess with. There's also these dolls you can collect, but I don't think they unlock anything and are just something to collect. In handheld mode, the game runs great and has good button placement, so no need to customize that if you don't want to. Also, it may look iffy visually, but that's because I'm recording this on my webcam. Trust me, it looks better in person. I love the look of this game. It's basically what if Resident Evil was a Super Nintendo game. There is a great amount of detail to this place, and every area stands out and it has personality. I didn't find it scary, but it still gave that spooky vibe, especially with the weather and the shades of darkness throughout. The creature design was great, and there are plenty of them as they are slowly added as you make progress through the game, like the killer dolls or flame demons. Now the character design is mixed, as our lead has a good design, but when it comes to the rest of the cast, they felt kinda samey. So much so I couldn't even tell who was a guy or girl at times. Even with the character portraits, it was kinda hard. There ain't no voice acting here, and the game ran smooth and no bugs were present. At least in my playthrough. I thought this was a freaking great game. I love the visuals, combat, puzzles, and the story and characters are entertaining as well. It took me around 4 to 5 hours to complete, and for replay value, there's trying out the Commander Mode and collecting those dolls if you want to. All I gotta say is if you're into survival horror that has a focus on action, and maybe always wonder how Resident Evil will look as a Super Nintendo game, then I highly recommend that you play this. I hope you enjoy my thoughts on this game, and for gamer's sake, keep gaming.